One of our first tours was to take a small private group into a mysterious new destination of Romania, which was once an outpost of the Roman Empire. I'm so glad we did. Flying from Vienna into Bucharest in Wallachia, we started the tour with dinner at the Labada Hotel, which had once been an 18th century palace on Lake Pantelimon. Our specialist guide for Bucharest was Livia, who provided the history of Romania.
Olivia, well, what's it like living in Bucharest?
Well, it's pretty nice because nowadays all our hopes and dreams came alive after the communist regime, and life changes a lot because many private companies came here. Well, not so many as we dreamed, but anyway, some of them came.
Yes.
There are pretty fancy shops around, some private hotels which look much better. It seems also our government did something for the roads because they look pretty nice today.
Right.
Some of them, not all of them, but they are still working. And also the buildings got repairing, and especially those parts that were destroyed during the revolution in 1989.
All right, now you were only 12 years of age when the communist regime was overthrown, but you still remember prior to that time what life was like here. So tell me about those times. You were queuing, I think, for goods, like for groceries and things?
Well, yes, it's true. I was 12 years at that time, and well, we were very poor, that's the truth. And we had to stay in line for about 3 or 4 hours to get just a small piece of bread. And cheese and meat, it was the same. And it was like a holiday when we could have oranges or bananas, or especially imported things.
But you still had to go to school. If you were queuing for 4 hours in the morning, you then went to school, and you were a swimmer as well, weren't you?
Yes, I was a swimmer too, competing.
How did you fit all this in?
Well, I woke up very early in the morning and I went to stay in line for 3 or 4 hours. Then I went to the school, okay, for another 5 hours, and then I would go to the swimming pool for another 2 hours. And there wasn't much time left for studying at home, but anyway, I managed. I won't say it was easy, but I managed.
Well, talk about life now. What does a young person like you do? I mean, are there discos here? What sort of recreation do you do now?
Well, I personally prefer to go in parks, go hiking, and do lots of sports, and also go to the opera and the theater.
Yes, yeah.
But of course we have plenty of discos, restaurants, skating rinks, swimming pools, tennis courts.
So there's plenty for a young person to do.
Yes, it's plenty for a young person to do. You know, Bucharest is it's a big city, and we have possibilities here.
Are you studying full-time as well?
Yes, I'm studying full-time. I'm a student at the Academy of Economic Studies, for marketing especially.
And you're working as a guide with romantic travel?
Well, yeah, I'm working as a guide with romantic travel and other private companies. And also for a state company, the National Tourist Office.
Right.
That's during my holidays and weekends, as a part-time job.
Yeah. All right, now tell me about some of the things that can be seen in Bucharest. Let's start with the Military Museum. And the Military Museum, to me, is a bit of what I would call a misnomer because it's a history museum. And it seems that the reason it's called a military museum is because Romania is a land of conflict. There's been so many battles and wars, but mainly a defensive strategy against an invader throughout the centuries. And in the Military Museum, you can actually walk in and you can see this depicted in so many ways, but there are a couple of very significant characters come out of your history. So the one we know is Vlad Tzepes.
Vlad Tzepes, that's the Romanian name, okay? And in translation, Vlad the Impaler.
Yes, and now apparently he got that name because he used to impale his enemies on spears and used to have them displayed alongside the fortifications of the town so that the invaders would be repelled just by the sight of their colleagues ending up this way. But that was not uncommon, was it, to do this psychologically? This was part of the warfare, wasn't it?
Part of the, sorry?
Part of the warfare, the psychology of it, to have the enemy see this and...
Well, at the time when he was a ruler, yes, it was used also by the enemies. It was a technique spread in Europe. Okay. Because when you have to fight a huge army, maybe double or triple yours, you have to use another way than face-to-face battle,
Yes.
for sure. And then, in order to resist this invasion from the Turkish, he had to burn everything in their way. He had to poison the water, and also to show them the punishment the Turkish soldiers would get if they dared to go further.
And yet, when we
And that
look...
was a psychological impact upon the Turkish army.
Yes.
And day after day, the life for them was harder and harder. And in the end, they gave up.
Yes. He was successful, wasn't he?
And Vlad Tepes, from this battle, let's say it was not face-to-face battle, but in the end he was successful, yes. All the historians interpreted this battle in this way. Vlad Tepes was successful in front of Mohammed II. That was the ruler of the Turkish Empire at
And
the
yet,
time.
yet in the West, Vlad is really known as the bloodthirsty one. So it looks like he got bad press over the centuries.
No, well, there was pretty much about money, because there were merchants, German merchants in Transylvania, and they wanted to monopolize the commerce between Transylvania and Wallachia. And Vlad Tepes did not agree with this. He made certain places where commerce should take place and where merchants from Transylvania should come here and make these trades, exchanging whatever goods they had. But it seems these German merchants did not agree with these rules. And they start selling things all over the country, not just in these places established by the prince. Well, Vlad Tepes went to these cities, which were Brasov and Sibiu, burned them down and punished the people for not obeying him. Well, they rebuilt the cities and again disobeyed the prince. So he again went over them and burned them down. Well, in the end, the inhabitants of these two cities started creating fairy tales and legends and different stories, trying to present Vlad Tepes as a very cruel man and dishonest, and, well, that's from where the legends that Bram Stoker found in London Library came from.
Yes.
Okay?
And that's
Invented by these merchants.
Yes.
But of course, the historical truth is that
different.
he was different, yes.
But the name Dracula was there because that came from his father, didn't it? Vlad's father?
Well, Vlad's father was ruler of Wallachia too, and he was a member of the Dragon's Order. Well, the dragon word in the Romanian language was translated into Drac, okay, or Dracul.
Right.
And Vlad, his father's name was also Vlad. He took this name as a name of the ruler of the country, okay, because he was proud of his membership in the Dragon's Order, and he named himself Vlad Dracul.
Right.
Now, Dracula comes from, it means in the Romanian language, the son of Dracul. Okay, you add
I
an
see.
A
The A,
in the
yes.
end,
Right.
just because it has this meaning, the son
son
of
of.
Dracul.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Drac in the Romanian language also means the devil.
Aha.
So that gave the German merchants a possibility to
Yes.
connect their legends with the name
see.
of the prince.
Right.
Okay?
Much maligned person, obviously. Tell me about another central figure, and this figure really comes from Moldavian history, and this is Stefan the Great.
Well, his Romanian name was Ștefan cel Mare, and he had to fight many times against the Turkish people. And it seems he had 47 wars, and he came victoriously out of 42. And after each war, he built monasteries and churches in Moldova. And that's why nowadays Moldova, and especially the northern part, became famous around the world for this beautiful monasteries and churches.
And he fortified those monasteries.
Sorry?
He fortified those monasteries?
Well, part of them, yes. Especially Dragomirna is the most fortified monastery we have in Romania. Yes, he fortified them in order to have a line of defense against the Turkish invasion.
Right. We've been talking basically about 15th century, and this medieval part of your history is fascinating. What about, there was a very significant person in the year 1600, Mihai the Brave, was it?
Yes, and Romanian Mihai Viteazul. Well, he dreamed of getting united the three principalities, Romanian principalities, because they spoke the same language, they had the same traditions. His dream became alive, and Transylvania, Moldova and Wallachia got united in one country, and that happened in 1600. But we were surrounded by big empires, that is the Hungarians, the Polands and the Turks. And they did not want us to get united in one country, because by this unification we would be stronger. Well, they in the end had Mihai Viteazul killed on the battlefield, and his body thrown away somewhere in...
He was assassinated.
Yes, he was assassinated in the end.
A couple of sites in Bucharest I want to ask you about. One of the sites of Bucharest would be the Senate, because it's so connected with Ceausescu and his demise, and that is the balcony where he made his speech to the people, which many people in the Western world saw. That today is the Senate building.
Yes, today is the Senate building. Well, you would like to hear a story of the revolution, what happened there?
What was it all about?
Well, he appeared at the balcony of the building, and he tried to give to the people gathered in front of the balcony his famous speeches. At a certain moment, a small bomb exploded in the crowd, and women were afraid, of course, started yelling and crying, and it was a huge disorder. At a certain moment, some moments later, you could hear "Down with Ceausescu, down with the butcher." Ceausescu couldn't believe his eyes. He even fainted for a moment, then he regained his strength and tried to speak again, but it was not possible. So he went inside the building, then went to the right wing of the building and flew away with a helicopter together with his wife. Well, fortunately, the army was on our side, and in the end they said, okay, every flying object will be shot down. So they had to land. They stopped the car and they drove away with the car till Târgoviște, where they've been caught by the army. In Târgoviște there was a secret airport, and they were supposed to fly away from there, nobody knows where. But anyway, they were caught and they were brought back to Bucharest in an army tab. And in Bucharest they had a very, very short trial, and they've been sentenced to death by shooting, because they've been accused of ruining the national economy and genocide.
Right. A couple of quick questions.
Yes, please.
The Church of the Holy Patriarchy, is it?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about this church. How old is this Church of the Holy Patriarchy?
Well, it was built in 1635 by a ruler of Wallachia. It's an Orthodox church, of course, because we Romanians are in 88% Orthodox, especially Greek Orthodox.
The tomb in that church is the tomb of Saint Dumitru.
Yes, the church is famous because it shelters the tomb of Saint Dumitru. He is considered to be the protector of Bucharest city.
So the patron saint of Bucharest.
Yes, it's kind of a patron saint of Bucharest. And it seems it happened one day that a woman that had an illness on her skin from the hand went to the tomb and prayed for becoming better. And it proved that in 2 weeks she was healed. Well, we don't know if it was for the saint, but anyway, it happened like this.
So many years later, Livia Tudor has now achieved her goals. After graduating, she's now got her own company, and she still offers private tours around Romania from Bucharest.